We are in Brussels for ETHCC, and today I'm with Ben from Bankless Ventures. Hi, Ben. Welcome.
Hi, Mia. Thanks for having me.
It's good to finally sit down with you and learn about your story. I know a little bit, but for everyone watching, take me to the beginning. How did you bump into this industry?
I, much like a lot of people, got into crypto because somebody said, hey, there's this crazy thing online that keeps going up. That was honestly how it was pitched to me at first.
What year was this?
This was in 2016. So it was talking specifically about Ethereum. I mean, I had heard of Bitcoin long before, but always had kind of written it off. Like any good speculator, bought some and then asked questions later. Then I got in via angel investing into a crypto exchange early on, like early 2017. And then have been in the space for a long time as a founder, as an investor, and joined Bankless Ventures November 2022 with David and Ryan to help launch the fund.
How did you get into VC?
As an angel, my background's in finance. I worked in private equity. My CFA, I'd always kind of like been in and around finance and always wanted to run a fund, honestly. So venture was the goal for a very long time, which is cool to kind of see that culminate into Bankless Ventures.
And I know that you and David met while you were hiking.
Well, we had met via the conference circuit multiple times, actually at Metaverso. So December 2021 maybe was kind of, I had rented a car and we were driving all over the place, and he was waiting for an Uber, so I gave him a lift and we became much closer friends then.
But then you went hiking.
And then it was a hike at DevCon. As you know, these events are exhausting.
Bogota.
It's kind of like, the day after or whatever, it's like, let's take a hard pause and like go for a hike or something. We're talking. They get great deal flow. They angel invest in a bunch of different things. I was like, when are you guys launching a fund? He said, actually, we've wanted to for a long time. We should chat. And that was kind of the genesis of Bankless Ventures in its current form.
That's really good. Obviously, like being an angel investor is very different than running a fund. What was the biggest challenge taking that leap?
Well, one, I think, is fiduciary responsibility. Like as an angel, it's just kind of your own money. So if you make a dumb decision, you just can get mad at yourself and whatever. It's your own money you learn. Investing with other people's money is a huge, huge responsibility. So that would be the biggest one, is like that kind of always remembering that, it's somebody else's hard-earned cash that you're investing most of the time, as well as like position sizing. It's as an angel, you just writing a small check, you're a price taker. And as a VC, you're writing a much bigger check. Sometimes you can influence the docs or the terms and things like that. So there was a steep learning curve still from allocator as an angel to allocator as a VC or more of an institution.
What were some of the hard rules you put from the beginning as you're trying to mitigate, I don't even want to say risk, but like aim towards like getting things right and wrong, let's say. As you're trying to bring that together for Bankless Ventures, what were some of the rules you were like, okay, this I know for sure?
The truth is, we'll find out in like 3 to 5 years, like how we're doing. So we're making a lot of decisions on a lot of unknowns. So the things that we're trying now, we'll find out. I'd say ultimately it's a people thing. So these conferences and stuff are very important, that in real life interactions, sitting down with people, tell me about your family, tell me about your interests outside of crypto, like that stuff really, really adds up. And get to know the person, why they're doing what they're doing, why they running around to all the conferences, why are they staying up super late working on this thing? What is the chip on their shoulder, kind of encouraging them to get up every morning? So I think that's the biggest thing, and that's kind of the North Star, is like you're backing the people behind the teams.
Yes.
That would be the biggest one.
Okay, so to reform my question, as you go from angel investing into entering like venture capital, you're thinking, one thing I know for sure is that the person is the main thing to focus on. Was there any other factors that for you are already very solid that would already help you sort through quick?
I'd say for me, David, Ryan, and the rest of the team, I'd say we're all pretty good judges of character. So those are pretty good transferable talents. We're all people persons. Yeah, I think that's probably transferable. I'd say like from the beginning, we've said we don't invest in certain areas like individual games or SaaS, which has kind of allowed us to navigate some of these things. But yeah, ultimately it's
you niche down. Yeah, the areas you like the most and you know the most. Would that be DeFi?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably like 60% infra, 20% DeFi, 20% other would be kind of like the broad categories that we've invested in thus far. And that's like our network, our like zone of genius is more in those areas. We look at a lot of the other stuff. It's kind of reflexive based on the market and the current narrative a lot of the times. Yeah, I'd say those are the broad big buckets.
What made you bullish in this space? This is super volatile. Even if you don't look at prices, the industry itself goes through ups and downs like all the time. Right now there's like politics involved more heavily. There's always something going on. Obviously nowadays is more clear, but like 5 years ago and before, there's been years that people have left the industry.
Totally.
What made you stay?
I'd like to say because of this unwavering faith to this is where we're going as an industry. But yeah, no, we're human. So some of these like massive downturns and bear markets, you kind of question everything. I think you'd be silly not to at least at times like take a step back and be like, is this really where I should be focusing all my time and effort? But I keep going back to, yes, it is. I mean, the world's getting more digital. The majority of the internet traffic going through a few large companies. Do I think that's a good thing? The power of AI being centralized into a few big companies. Do I think that's a good thing? Right. And then, does crypto offer potential solutions to this as well as some other problems? Yeah, I still think it does.
So going back to founders, so what are you looking for in good founders? What are the traits of a good founder?
There's been some studies on this, and it's like, I don't know, it depends which ones you kind of go behind. The unfortunate answer is probably like best described as like vibes.
Vibes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is probably something I wouldn't say typically, but that's truly it. I mean, you can have the founders that they were entrepreneurial as kids and they've always had this chip on their shoulder and this gnawing thing that they want to solve. There's kind of a variety of personality traits, but ultimately this is a long-term relationship, the investor and founder dynamic. So you want to make sure that this is somebody you can see yourself backing. You can see that they will persevere through the tough times within a startup. I mean, startups are hard. They're very, very hard. Startups in crypto are even more hard. Achieving product market fit is very difficult, and crypto makes it even more difficult at times, especially currently or historically. So making sure they're in it for the right reasons. And a lot of times that's really hard to have like a checklist on what to find to kind of sniff that out.
Is there anything that this industry has made you believe in that you didn't before? Made you change your mind about something?
Probably. I got to stew on that one for a little bit. What about you?
There's been quite a few things. I actually think the first problem this industry solved was solitude, which not many people think about it, but I think the connection between people in this industry is way stronger than if you go into AI or if you go into biotech. I think people connect in this industry in a way that you really don't see. And as the world is going through solitude issues, we don't really feel it so much in this industry. Maybe I'm speaking from my shoes, obviously, but I see that is one of the things that keeps people in the industry. Yeah. So like the culture.
It also probably repels some certain people because of like the Twitter, like
it's intense.
Yeah. I mean, I'd agree with that. I mean, loneliness is an epidemic, and like that crypto is, I'd say, unique in a way that it's like digital first, and we're basically a traveling band of gypsy people kind of going to these different cities every year,
seeing each
other, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I think there's many unique factors of this industry. I don't know if you've considered, it's incredibly childish if you consider behavior, the memes, the NFTs. But I think staying young is also something that people really enjoy. Is there anything like this that you've noticed about the industry?
Totally. I mean, meme coins and some of this immaturity. It's a 4chan culture that's baked so deeply into crypto, I think.
David mentioned when he was here like a couple days ago that right now we're going through this period, which I agree, where there's this separation where the industry is maturing and some people are maturing with the industry and some people do not want to grow up. So there's this division, and I totally see that. Do you think there's going to be like a strong split here? Do you think these people eventually are going to be forced to grow up? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's ideally the industry gets a lot bigger. I think that now with the ETFs, like there's a big part of crypto that's no longer contrarian and feels a little bit more TradFi, doesn't feel as edgy, doesn't feel as as fringe as it used to. So of course there's like a big cohort of people that don't want that to change and want to like maintain that. Crypto is also trillions of dollars worth of value at this point and will continue to get a lot bigger. So yeah, the kind of culture will shift. There'll be new entrants that have different cultural values. The new entrants of tomorrow don't look like the entrants from yesterday or 5 years ago. So the culture will shift, but there still will be like groups of or cohorts or classes of crypto that kind of have very shared values and ideals, and some of those will change and some will grow up and continue to evolve.
As you're here at ETHCC, is there anything new that you haven't seen before? Like, is there something that you learned while here or that stood out?
For me, no. I haven't attended a lot of the talks or anything like that. Lots of them are recorded, so I'll end up doing it.
But like just talking with people, anything, any repetition?
Lots of repetition. I think the crypto industry as a whole is these conferences are kind of good to kind of get the idea of where the narrative is as an investor, so you can look the other way and maybe take a more contrarian take. But I think, in general, people are looking for more of these breakout apps, like more ways to get more users into crypto. It's the same thing we've been hearing. It's just like the drum beat's getting a lot louder. So I'd say that's like the general consensus. So in terms of net new 0 to 1 innovative ideas or things like that, I haven't seen too many, no.
There's obviously the elections coming. We just learned this week that Trump's going to be speaking at Bitcoin Nashville. The overlap of politics and crypto has been becoming less of a taboo and more people are speaking about it. So I'll throw the question at you. How do you think the elections will impact the industry?
I think the short answer is bigly. The fact that crypto was so fringe and like this more contrarian thing, and now it's literally one of the discussions within this political cycle, is just insane.
Do you think it's a good thing overall for the industry and also like for the US specifically?
I think it's a good thing that crypto is maturing and getting more people aware of it and talking about it. Yes. Did I want it to be voter situation where like kind of forced to vote for one candidate versus the other based on the industry in which you work? No, I think that's super unfortunate.
How do you see this impacting the industry behavior? So right now, and correct me if you see it differently, Asia is on almost like gambling mode, is more comfortable spending. They're the risk takers, let's say, in the spectrum. And Europe would be like more risk averse. I'd say like US is in the middle, potentially because of regulation. There's more ambiguity there. So if things shift, do you think US could be more, not a gambler, but like more risk taker side by side with Asia, or would never?
I mean, I think it probably akin to going for a walk through a city in Asia, a city in Europe, or a city in the US.
Yeah.
The national bird of Asia is like the crane, because there's construction everywhere and there's like growth and there's like hunger to catch up with the rest of the world as like a contender in the global economy. Versus Europe, it's much more like ossified and kind of like conservative. And then the US is like somewhere in between. I still think that's kind of the way that probably VCs from the industry, investors from the industry, speculators from the industry all kind of act similar.
Even
in those
founders,
buckets.
energy. Yeah. So you think it's going to remain in this?
Yeah, I would find it hard to flip significantly from those kind of categories.
What would need to happen for it to flip?
I don't know, economic collapse in the US where suddenly we need to like...
we need to push?
Yeah, maybe.
I thought something in Asia.
Yeah, I mean, Asia, as it like continues to grow in significance in the world, more so than it already is, yeah, maybe it ossifies a little bit less and grows a little bit more conservative.
Is there something you see in the space that is missing, that if it was there, it would change things drastically in terms of adoption?
Focus on solving real end consumers' problems they care about, maybe?
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if this is what you're saying, but a lot of people in the space tend to think what is possible in crypto and then build it out instead of thinking of a problem.
Correct.
And coming back to crypto. Because sometimes it doesn't need to be like fully on chain. It just needs like a layer that actually is like very significant, similar to AI, right? But just adding a layer of AI on top of something sometimes is way more significant for like user experience.
Correct. And it doesn't necessarily make you an AI startup. You're just like making the startup solve a real problem, and AI is the solution to do so.
There's this question I like to ask people, which is, I call it the cereal box problem. We have too many options and decision fatigue is a thing. How would you advise a founder to stand out in the shelf as a cereal box seller?
I mean, you could pivot from cereal and sell milk if everybody's selling cereal, which probably would be a good move. So surveying the competition and seeing what everybody else is doing and maybe taking a contrarian bet. Is that cheating?
No, it's a unique answer. So 5 years from now, where do you think the industry will be? No one's going to take your answer too heavily, but if you get it right, it's good to come back to.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say $10 to $15 trillion asset class.
That's it?
Yeah.
This is your strongest bet?
There you go.
We should put this on Polymarket.
Yeah.
What's a company that you're really bullish on at the moment?
Bankless Ventures.
Well, other than that.
Maybe
one
I don't
want to
name like a specific, we love all of our children the same. So I'd say I'd be really bullish on founders building for the long term, like in it for the right reasons. I know that's weaseling out of your question.
It is a little bit. Yeah. For everyone watching, where can they find you?
Easiest, Twitter, @Ben Lakoff or @Bankless VC.
Ben, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up?
But it's not something Genzio is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a hive.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We're back at the Genzio Media House.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today.